Hi, this is Kimberly from Are You Awakening? And I am here to talk to you today about how to remove a memory's grasp. Also called timeline navigation if you want to be trendy about it lately. So let's say you have a memory that just won't go away. It keeps popping up, you keep seeing pictures of it, and you're like, oh, will you just go away so I can move on? Well, I want to talk to you about what that memory is doing for you. Okay, we're going to start with some basics here, which you may or may not want to believe, but I'm going to tell you anyway, since they are universal truths and I'm planting a seed, whether you let it sprout now or later, there is no time. You've probably heard that before. There is no time, there is no past, there is no present, and there is no future. It's all happening now. Now, because we're on Earth and we decided to live amongst some serious limitations, yes, like time, linear time, and space, right? Where there's stuff in between you and me. All of these things are physical constructs. They are root assumptions that we have all adopted in order to live on the physical plane, and they're not true. Now, with that said, whether you believe it or not, I would like you to suspend your judgment for a few minutes and perhaps consider what a memory does to you. And since we're all agreeing to live on this physical plane, we do categorize our events into past, present, and future. Okay, that's so that we can make sense from an ego perspective of our displacement, of our growth. Okay, so we're going to call a memory something that you had in your past, meaning you consciously experienced it, you recognized that it had a beginning and an end, right? And then after it occurred, you filed it in the past. It happened back then. Okay? That's how we've defined a memory. Now, let's say you have a crappy memory, it comes up and you're like, there it is again, I can't get rid of it. Well, yes, you can. I want you to think from a mechanical perspective for a second. If time does not exist, then it really didn't happen in your past. It just happened. Okay? Now, something that just happened was something that happened because you were focusing on it. And you are a multidimensional being. There are things happening to you here and here and here. You're focusing on this one right now, but there is another probable you that's experiencing this thing, and there's another probable you experiencing this thing. There are multiple probable yous who are making different decisions to experience different things. You are focusing on one. Now, why? If it sucked, why? Right? Here's where you get your power back. Here's where you start to learn how powerful you are. You are not required to keep that as a memory. You can keep this as an idea, as a possibility, right? You can also look over here and say, well, what if it hadn't happened that way? What if it never happened? Okay? That's another possibility. All right? It's all about where your consciousness is focusing. That's how you label a memory. My consciousness focused on this event. Well, my consciousness doesn't like that event, so my consciousness is going to focus on a different one. Okay? They're just ideas. All of them just ideas. Right? In a holographic world, these reflections coming back to you are obviously reflections of yourself, but they're giving you a chance to have an idea about what happened. And if you had an idea about what happened and it sucked, then change your idea. So how do we do that? This is also called neuro-linguistic programming. I haven't made this up. All right, you can go follow the scientific manner of doing it. Plenty of ways to do it, in which you basically redesign the memory. And so we're going to do this in 5 steps. All right, we're going to do our own neuro-linguistic programming, and we are going to look at a memory and we are going to put it away. So I want you to think of a memory that didn't feel good. I'll give you an example of one of my memories that wasn't so good. I'm going to pull it out for educational purposes here, and we'll talk about that. So in 2005, I endured Hurricane Katrina, and I lost everything. My house, my business, my job, a cat. That was the worst part, was the cat. And I was a victim. Lots of people, Hurricane Katrina victims, right? I put that label on me, and man, I was a victim. Whoo, I was good. And it sucked because I looked at that entire situation as a victim. Something was being done to me. And every time I looked back to 2005 and thought about all the things that I lost, or the things that people looted from me, and all the things that were done to me as a victim, I felt awful. Well, I decided that I would get rid of that memory and I won't be a victim anymore. And the way I did it was to look at that situation and thank it, right? So I did lose everything. And if I look at it now, pretty damn glad I did, because it actually opened up so many beautiful things for me, right? It opened up the ability to move across the country like I'd always wanted to do. I got to start afresh, and I got to learn a lot about all of the things and the stuff that we consider important, okay? So yeah, did I go through a hurricane? Sure, I did. I'll keep that in my past. Was I a victim? No. Now, I'm thanking myself for the lesson that I learned. It always comes back to the lesson. That's always why things are coming to you, is for you to learn to define yourself. Okay? So now we've got a memory, and I thanked it. I'm thankful for that lesson. That's a really important part. I don't want you to skip that part. If you don't recognize the lesson, if you don't realize what you learned from it, you're going to have it happen again. That's the way your reality is going to work. Until you recognize what you were supposed to learn, why it was reflected to you, you're going to keep experiencing it. So now that we've figured out a memory, we've thanked it for its service, we've recognized the lesson from it, we're going to put it back with all of the other possibilities that could have happened. Okay? If you want to think of it as just a wide expanse of boxes all lined up, and there's one sticking up, and you're like, no man, it's sticking up, it's way out there. You're going to go over and you're going to push that box down flush with all the others. Okay, all of those other boxes, or whatever that is for you, whatever you use to visualize this, they're all possibilities. I just pushed the victim down. I don't need to pull up anymore. I don't really need to. I've learned my lesson from it. But if I want to, if I want a memory, if I want to talk about it with someone, I'm going to pull up a nicer one. I'm going to pull up a, wow, that really allowed me to make some big positive life changes. Okay? So that's up to you whether you want to keep it all flush, or you want to pull one up because you want to keep it and hold it dear to your heart. Entirely up to you. Okay? Now the last step is, if you do keep it flush and you put it equal with all the other possibilities, don't ever talk about it again. Okay? Because when you do, chances are, unless you've defined a happier alternative to your memory, you might be jumping back there again. And that often comes up when someone talks to you about it and asks you a question about your past, right? You'll say, oh man, you're going to go through all your beliefs about what happened with that event. And if you've set it down flush and you've eliminated that, you can just answer them and say, oh, that was just another version of myself. Done. No need to explain any further. It's the truth. It was another version of you. You are a different person now. You are an entirely different person because you have changed your beliefs about that event. Okay? So this is a way for you to redesign your past. You can do it. You have the power to do that. All it was you focusing on one probability. You can change your probabilities because you are changing you a billion times a second anyway, so you may as well do it consciously. So hopefully this was useful to you. You do have the power to make those changes about your events. You can view them differently, or you can file them away completely, whatever you prefer. However you want to be you out to that world. Okay? Remember, you're creating your reality, every single bit of it. And don't forget, always be yourself all of the time. Get it? Love.